I want to thank anyone who's taken the time to watch this video. I've been very reflective and very somber over the course of this last week in light of recent events in Buffalo, New York, with the latest mass shooting, needlessly claiming an additional 10 lives. This is an indicative pattern that we have seen throughout the years. And I think society has become desensitized to the violence and the tragedy. I want to practice a part of my talk that talks about how accountability is an illusion when it comes to the media. Of the worst of the school shootings in recent memory, the one that sticks out in my mind the most occurred in 2012 when my two oldest sons were 5 and 6 years old respectively. And that, of course, was Sandy Hook Elementary, when a shooter rampaged the school and killed 26 young children and 7 administrators. At the time, society had admonished us to forget the name of the shooter, to pay him no mind, to pay him no credence, to avoid glorifying his crimes and having him set an example for others to follow. This may be a controversial topic, but I firmly believe that it would be erroneous to exclude these names from our thoughts and our memories. Because if we do, we're bound to repeat history over and over again. Society exhibits many of the same traits that people who suffer from addiction and mental health and substance abuse disorder suffer from. Defensiveness, denial, deflection, diversion, and disparagement. Adam was his name. Adam Lanza. His mother, Nancy, was shot in the head at point-blank range before he went on to murder 27 more lives. Adam Lanza was a high-functioning autistic who chose self-exclusion and isolation. And his mother was very dedicated to him, and she tried to help him in several ways. But despite her best of intentions, his voice could not be heard. And so it was impossible for his voice to be heeded. People who suffer from ideation, especially people in their youth and teenage years, cannot fully grasp the meaning behind their thoughts. They can't firmly grasp reality from ideation. Last year, 15-year-old Ethan Crumbley took 4 lives at the Oxford shooting, and I was so livid when I heard the news reports, because Ethan Crumbley had asked for help. "Help me," he said. "The voices won't stop. The world is dead to me." When I researched a little bit more, I had found that through text correspondence with his friends, he had said, "I need to go to the hospital. I need help. But my dad told me to suck it up." His mother seemed annoyed when they were called in at a conference. Deliberate deflectiveness to such high extremes that it was unprecedented in history, where the parents of a teenager who committed murder were charged with involuntary manslaughter. Ethan had ideation, and a part of him knew that he needed help, and he tried to get that help. Whose fault was it when his voice refused to be heard? When his voice refused to be heeded at 15 years of age? There's not a lot of people who know this about me. When I was 15 years old, I was sitting in math class, and I drew pictures of guns and knives and nooses. And I remember writing on the piece of paper, "Don't be surprised if you find me cold and bloody in the park." I thought I was being clever when I discreetly stayed behind and accidentally dropped it in class. And this happened in another class. And all I know, all these years later, was that at 15 years of age, I had no comprehension. I had no scope of what it was that I truly needed. I could not make sense of my own actions, other than to say that a part of me desperately wanted to be seen, and a desperate part of me wanted to be heard. All of these people, Adam, Ethan, Dylan, Eric, James, they've all had voices that weren't heeded. All of their voices weren't heard. Susan Claybold is a former TEDx speaker who is a very brilliant, creative, articulate woman who fought self-punishment for not being able to see the signs in her own son and his own tortured mind. How much he loathed himself, his hatred. Not a lot of people knew that I suffered yet again from ideation in the early stages of my marriage. And nobody knows that as of this moment, I'm suffering from ideation right now. And I have been for the last few weeks. And I'm a 38-year-old single mother who is trying to make my voice heard. And my impulsivity that defines my disorder and my illness compels me to want to help you now. The immediate gratification that defines my illness is that I want to help people now. And I am struggling to make my voice heard. And I'm falling privy to imposter syndrome. And I feel small. And at times I feel insignificant. And I don't fully understand why I've been having ideation. I don't know exactly why I've been suffering from ideation. Only to say that I have felt alone. And I have felt frustrated. And I have felt helpless. And it's difficult because of my deficiencies. I have to work extra hard to succeed in so many ways. My impulsivity that defines my disorder. I want to be so much more than everything that I am right now. And I'm going to quote J.K. Rowling. She had said, "It's a surprising thing, Harry," but I'm going to put Jenny in there, that perhaps the people who are the most worthy of power are not the ones who seek it, but rather the ones who have leadership thrown on them and are called to answer the call, only to find that they wear it well. Because I'm imperfect, and because I have been suffering, and because I have fallen into my illness, and I have fallen into the arms of regret repeatedly, I am fighting off feelings of feeling small and inferior, and I want to answer the call, and I want to triumph in my imperfections. Last fall, I was feeding a couple who was helpless at a care facility when a Fox News station came on, and I remember this quite distinctly. They were interviewing, the Fox newscaster was interviewing two people who had embraced a life of sobriety after years of addiction. And they had set up foundations and had raised awareness, and they were being praised by this Fox reporter. However, synonymous, the leading news story on that day was the problematic nature of junkies in the streets all over America's major urban cities, from New York to Los Angeles to Boston to Chicago, all over the nation as COVID-19 swept the world. These brazen junkies were bold enough to make themselves known in public on the streets, injecting themselves in front of innocent women and children. What are we going to do about this problem? And I was shocked to my core. The Fox newscaster had asked the sober addict, who had only regained his stance in society because of the contributions that he gave to it, what can we do about this problem? And I remember what he said. He said, "Listen to us." And when I looked up the definition of the word junkie, which is a derogatory slang for someone who suffers from addiction and substance abuse disorder, I didn't type in "what is a junkie." I typed in "who is a junkie." And what I found shocked me again to my core. A junkie is someone who is disparaging and offensive. Disparagement means to treat or refer to someone as if they are of little or no worth. That is accountability as an illusion in our media today. And I have many more examples. I wanted to be vulnerable because I believe there is power in it. I wanted to hold myself accountable to somebody so I could let it go. Thank you for taking the time to listen to what I have to say.